What's up, everybody? Hedge funds, a bunch of investors, they just had to release their quarter 4 13Fs. These are filings funds put out 45 days after the end of a quarter, and it shows what the fund owned at the end of, in this case, quarter 4. This is public information. You can get these from the SEC. There's a little over 8,000 13Fs that are filed, and I downloaded all of them. So we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at a few big ones, some that I'm going to highlight here. And then we're also going to look at a bit of data that I compiled after looking at all 8,000 of these forms. As always, if you get value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want access to my Discord, this website, or grab my Google Sheets template, or just support what I do, consider following me on Patreon. A link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into this. And first, I just want to point out some limitations of a 13F. They don't show international holdings. We're just looking at stuff traded on US exchanges. And also on top of that, it is just a point in time. If Berkshire Hathaway bought Meta stock, for example, in quarter 4, but then they sold it all before the end of the quarter, it wouldn't appear on the 13F at all. This is just a snapshot of what they own at the end of the quarter. And you don't get to know the price that they were trading things at either. If you see someone reporting that, Berkshire Hathaway or some other investor bought $500 million of some stock, that value might be the value today or the value at the end of the quarter, but it is not the price that they necessarily paid. They just bought sometime in the quarter. That's all that this form is disclosing to you. So with that, let's start with Berkshire Hathaway. I still label this as Warren Buffett on my site since Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway are essentially synonymous with each other. However, as you may know, Buffett is no longer the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He stepped down. Greg Abbott is running the company. Buffett may have had nothing to do with any of these investments here. There weren't many big dramatic changes to their portfolio in this quarter. A little bit of an add to Chubb. This is a pretty significant holding for them, and they increased it by about 10% in the quarter. But the one that caught my eye was SiriusXM. This holding may be less than 1% of their portfolio, but over 100 million shares of SiriusXM, they now own about 30% of this company. This company has quite a bit of debt, and the growth hasn't been great at all. If we just look at just revenue over the last 20 years, yes, it was going up, but pretty flat over the past 8 years, down actually a little bit from 2022. They do have a dominant position in US car radios, but I feel like many people are consuming more and more content on Spotify and YouTube. I don't know where this business is going, but they do make a ton of cash. They've had over $1 billion in free cash flow every single year for more than a decade, and this company is trading for a market cap of $7 billion. So perhaps this company is worth more of a deep dive. I looked at it a bit a year ago when I found this interesting write-up on valueinvestorsclub.com. This is an excellent resource, by the way, if you're interested in value investing. I have no affiliation with it. It's just a great site. In any case, moving along, let's look at Li Lu. Li Lu is an investor in the style of like Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's former right-hand man. He runs a very concentrated portfolio. Most of it is in Google, also Bank of America, PDD, which is Pinduoduo, a Chinese e-commerce platform. Berkshire Hathaway itself is also on here. And the only real change he made is he added Crocs. It's a small holding for him, but Crocs has done very well over the past few months. This is a company that has always looked cheap by the numbers. I just never invested in them, partly because I don't love the brand and I thought it was probably a fad. But as always, I just might not get it and maybe I'll just miss out on this stock. That's okay. Moving on, an investor I always like to look at is Seth Clarman. I think Charlie Munger once said if he had to have his money invested by someone else, it would be Seth Clarman. And he made quite a few changes to his portfolio this quarter. The big one, he bought a ton of Amazon. More than 2 million Amazon shares. That makes it almost 10% of his total portfolio. He sold quite a bit of Google, more than 40% of his position there. And a couple big ones that stood out to me, he added Molina Healthcare. Keep in mind, this is in the fourth quarter, so before their recent drop. This is a stock we've talked about on the channel multiple times. When they released their fourth quarter earnings, the stock dropped down quite a bit. I was buying pretty aggressively under $130 a share. This is now a large holding for me. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this one, I'm sure if you just search Molina on my channel or maybe Molina Deep Value Hunter on YouTube, hopefully it will pop up. And the other thing that stood out to me for Seth Clarman is he added a ton to Fiserv. Fiserv, remember, had a massive drop in the fourth quarter after they released their third quarter earnings. Clarman was buying Fiserv earlier in the year as well when the stock was a ton higher. And now with the stock in the 60s, he more than doubled his position. Moving on, let's look at David Tepper. His largest holding is still Alibaba. This actually used to be a significant holding of mine as well. I sold out in September after holding Alibaba for years. We see David Tepper reduce his China holdings a little bit, sold some Alibaba, sold some KWeb, which is an ETF that holds basically Baba, JD.com, Pinduoduo, Meituan, all the kind of Chinese internet companies. He also sold some JD, and he sold out completely of Fiserv. As far as what he was buying, a lot of American tech. Google, Meta, Micron is in here. Owens Corning, this is not a company I'm familiar with. Owens Corning manufactures and markets insulation, roofing, and fiberglass composite material in the US, Canada, Europe, all these other places. So that's definitely something a bit different. This might be a company that I might just want to look at. 10% free cash flow yield. They don't look too expensive. Again, I know nothing about this company, but when I see an investor like David Tepper buying into something that I'm completely unfamiliar with, it's probably worthwhile for me to take a look. Moving on, Mohnish Pabrai is always an interesting investor to look at. He runs a very concentrated portfolio, and he's often looking at different sectors than the typical investor. You don't see his international holdings here, so he owns more than 4 stocks, but nevertheless, still very concentrated. His big bets have been coal. We see that in Warrior Met Coal, ticker symbol HCC, Alpha Metallurgical Coal, which he added to a little bit in this quarter. But all the other stocks we see here are offshore drillers. Transocean, Valaris, Noble Corp, which he sold out of. He's been very bullish on this industry. It's an industry I've been interested in. In fact, I've been thinking about making a video about it for 6 or 7 months. I just haven't done it. I never pulled the trigger to buy any of these companies in spite of looking at all of the major names in this space. They've essentially all gone up. It was announced just a couple weeks ago that rig Transocean is buying Valaris. That sent Valaris's stock price up significantly. They're now trading for $90 a share. We see back, in the lows of last year, they were down to $30 a share. So this has been roughly a triple in less than a year. And if I were to sum up the thesis for this entire sector, Valaris, Noble, Seadrill, Transocean, it's essentially all these companies are trading for way less than the replacement value of their fleet. No one is making new drill ships in this environment. So the supply of these ships is going down little by little every year, while the demand is, if anything, going up. That's going to put upward pressure on the day rates for all of these ships that Valaris and Transocean have in their fleet. And we've been seeing that happen over the second half of the last year. Cash is going to drop to the bottom line, and all of these companies, Rig, Valaris, Noble, all of them are going to be huge cash flow machines. That's the thesis. And it's a thesis that's been playing out very profitably for Mohnish Pabrai. Now, I think we'll skip to the summary of all these 13 Fs. Really quick, Bill Ackman, he was buying a bunch of Meta and some Amazon in this quarter. Extremely concentrated portfolio for him as well. He trimmed some of his Google position. Carl Icahn has been investing a bit in some energy stocks. His largest holding is a natural gas company. Also added a bit to Sandridge, which is a natural gas and oil company that I've been looking at. But moving along, this is the data that I compiled looking at all these 13 Fs. And again, there's a little over 8,000 of them. First, the most owned stocks are probably the names that you would expect. Microsoft is owned by almost 6,000 funds out of these 8,000. Then you have Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, Google. I mean, it's not surprising that the stocks that are most owned are simply the largest businesses. What I find interesting are the buys and sells in the quarter. Now, if I just made a list of the most bought and most sold stocks, they would actually be pretty similar to the most owned stocks. Microsoft, for example, thousands of funds bought Microsoft, thousands of funds sold Microsoft. What I look at instead is net buys. So, for example, if there were 3,000 funds that bought Microsoft and 2,000 funds that sold Microsoft, I would consider that a net buy of 1,000 funds. And a buy to me means you just increase the number of shares. It doesn't have to be a new position. You could have just added to an existing position. So Microsoft could have 1,000 net buys, and the number of funds that actually owned the stock could not have changed at all. Ignore Total Energies here, which appears on both the net buys and net sells. They were trading over the counter, and then that got discontinued. So those shares got converted to shares that were trading on the New York Stock Exchange. And also, I will just say, this is just data I find interesting. The net buys and net sells, these aren't, in my opinion, strong signals for us to buy or sell these companies. In fact, sometimes they could even be contrarian indicators. If a lot of institutional investors, hedge funds, are selling a stock, that could be a reason to take a look at that company, maybe see if the selling is overdone. Now, getting into the list, Netflix. Lots of funds buying Netflix. And Netflix has continued to fall down over the past quarter. This is a dominant business, but certainly not a cheap one. Even after the price has dropped, they're trading for like a 30 times multiple. Another big net buy, ServiceNow. This is a company I want to look more into. I don't really have a comment right now. They've dropped a lot with this whole SaaS apocalypse software stock sell-off that's been going on. The growth and margins look good. Multiples still look a little bit expensive, but I really don't have a comment on the company. Amazon up here as well. In fact, actually, there's a bunch of companies that you can buy today for lower prices than a lot of these investors were buying them for in quarter four. As far as the sales, Unilever and Apple at the top of the list. Comcast down here as well is a company that I actually looked at not too long ago. In spite of the debt and really low growth, this company just has an absurd amount of free cash flow. I think it could be interesting at these prices. It does look a bit cheap to me. I don't own it though, but maybe we'll make a video about it on the channel soon. And with that, I think we'll end the video here. If you're supporting me on Patreon and you have access to this site, you can go and search for some other fund. If you want to look up, what is Jane Street buying right now? Just look Jane Street. You can click on it here. They have a bunch of option positions apparently that they're moving around. I should mention, you should never buy a stock just because some other investor bought it or someone on YouTube like me is talking about it. I use 13Fs as a tool to find interesting businesses and look at new companies. That's where I think the value is. And if you got value out of this video, then subscribe to the channel. If you want to support what I do, follow me on Patreon. And as always, I hope to see you all in another video.